Of course! It sounds like it was a profoundly moving day. The way you've described it captures the solemnity and the personal moments that make such events so powerful. Here is a continuation and expansion of your account, written in the style of a royal correspondence reflective dispatch. A solemn silence, a nation's heartbeat, a day of reflection with the royals at the cenotaph. Yesterday, I spent the day shadowing the king and his family at the Remembrance Sunday commemorations. As always, it was a poignant engagement, a day where the crisp November air in London feels heavy with memory and bright with gratitude. It's a unique privilege to observe these moments, not just as a spectacle, but as a deeply human ritual for the House of Windsor, a family for whom duty and remembrance are inextricably woven into the fabric of their lives. The cenotaph, that stark monolithic memorial on Whitehall, stands as it has for over a century, an empty tomb for the unreturned, a focal point for a nation's collective grief and respect. As the clock neared 11, a hush began to fall, a quiet that seemed to swell, pushing back against the usual city sounds until it was absolute. The king's solitary vigil. King Charles III took center stage, his figure solitary before the great gray edifice. In that moment, he was not just a monarch, but a conduit for a nation's emotion. As Big Ben's chimes faded into the stillness, he led the 2-minute silence. It's a tradition we all know, but to witness it from such proximity is something else entirely. This is not a passive quiet. It is an active, resonant silence. You could feel the weight of it, a tangible force woven from a million private thoughts of lost fathers, grandfathers, sons, and daughters, of battles long past and sacrifices still being made. The king stood immobile, his gaze fixed on the wreaths at the base of the cenotaph. His face, often a canvas of animated expression, was a mask of profound contemplation. In that silence, you saw the full weight of his new role. He is now the chief mourner for a nation, the guardian of its most sacred memories. The breeze tugged at the edges of his greatcoat, the only movement in a scene frozen in time. It was a masterful, heartfelt performance of stillness, a reminder that true leadership often lies not in words, but in the dignified space between them. A balcony of quiet strength. Above, watching from the balcony of the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, were the Queen and the Princess of Wales. Their role, while less central, was no less significant. Camilla, the Queen Consort, stood with a quiet, steady dignity, her expression one of somber support. Beside her, the Princess of Wales, Catherine, was a picture of elegant composure. Dressed in somber hues, her gaze was fixed on the ceremony below, a subtle expression of empathy and pride on her face. From that vantage point, they represented the watching nation, the families who support, who remember, and who wait. The heirs return and a wreath laid. Then the silence was broken by the report of a cannon, a sound that jolted the heart. The bugles of the last post rang out, their mournful golden notes curling into the sky, a sound that never fails to stir the soul. As the final note faded, the ceremonial began anew. It was so moving to see the royals laying their wreaths and paying their respects. King Charles was the first, stepping forward to place a new wreath of poppies at the foot of the cenotaph. His wreath, following a personal touch, retained the same design as his mother's, a poignant link to the past. Then came Prince William, the Prince of Wales. Fresh from his trip to Brazil, where the mood was one of future-facing optimism and environmental partnership, he had returned directly to this most sacred of national traditions. The contrast could not have been starker, yet he transitioned seamlessly. There was no hint of jet lag in his step, only a focused solemnity. He marched forward, a tall, straight-backed figure in his military greatcoat, and laid his wreath with precision and respect. He paused for a moment, his head bowed in a deep, personal tribute before stepping back. In that sequence, Charles leading, William following, one saw the unbroken line of duty, the passing of the torch of remembrance from one generation to the next. The living river of memory. Once the official service concluded, the atmosphere shifted from one of static reverence to a moving, breathing tribute. Some 10,000 armed forces veterans began the annual Royal British Legion's March Past. This is the part of the day that truly brings a lump to the throat. This was not a parade of anonymous soldiers. This was a river of living history. They came in their thousands, a magnificent, endless stream of men and women of all ages, from those who walked with the sprightly step of recent service to those who were pushed in wheelchairs, blankets over their knees, their backs still straight, their salutes crisp. The music played, old marching tunes and regimental hymns, but it was the sound of their footsteps, a steady, rhythmic tattoo on the tarmac that was the true music of the day. And amongst them, the true giants, the D-Day veterans. Seeing these men, now in their late 90s and beyond, was nothing short of awe-inspiring. Their faces were etched with the lines of time, but in their eyes burned the same determination that saw them through the hell of the Normandy beaches. Medals, polished to a brilliant shine, jangled on their chests, each one a story of unimaginable courage. The crowd, held back until now by ceremony, erupted in cheers and applause for them, a heartfelt, roaring thank you that seemed to lift the very rooftops. They marched, some with tears in their eyes, not for glory, but for the comrades they left behind. And it was amongst this incredible crowd that I had one of the most heartwarming moments of my career. I had the privilege of interviewing two veterans. The first, Arthur, was a D-Day veteran, 98 years young. His hand, when I shook it, was surprisingly firm. "Why do you still march, Arthur?" I asked. He looked towards the cenotaph, his eyes misty. "For the lads," he said, his voice a soft rasp. Simple as that. "For the lads who didn't get to grow old. I see their faces every year. It's my duty to remember them." The second was a much younger woman, Sarah, who served in Afghanistan. Her perspective was a stark reminder that remembrance is not just about the distant past. "It's about the community," she told me, her gaze steady. "Everyone here understands. You don't have to explain the things you saw or felt. We march for those we lost over there and for each other, because the battle doesn't always end when you come home." The baton of memory, passed from Arthur to Sarah, is in safe hands. You can watch my video from the event, including these incredibly moving interviews, and see the photos from the day below. The images capture the stoicism, the tears, the pride, and the unwavering spirit of a nation honoring its dead. And as ever, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What does Remembrance Sunday mean to you? Does the sight of the royals, so visibly sharing in this national act of grief and gratitude, resonate with you? For it is in these shared moments of silence and respect, with a king leading the tribute and 10,000 veterans marching for their friends, that we feel the true, enduring heartbeat of the nation.